All right, now 3 o'clock. What's up, my friends? The Portland Trailblazers back in action tonight. Second of a back-to-back against the Raptors. Tip-off scheduled for 7. Chris Burkhart will have game day live from Moda at 5. Denny Avdia listed as doubtful after leaving last night's game in the third with a sore back. He wanted to return, but Coach Splitter said no. Grant and Holiday are expected to play. The Blazers 11-3 in their last 14. They're above 500 for the first time since they were 6-5. Championship Sunday is set at noon on CBS. Patriots at the Broncos. New England is favored by 4.5. Jared Stidham will start in place of Bo Nix, and Denver head coach Sean Payton said he's not worried about Stiddy.
I'm not listening, and I say this respectfully, and I told the team this. I said, I'm not worried about Stiddy in this game. I'm worried about everyone else, all right, and how we play, and that really is the truth.
Broncos are 6-1 at home, all-time in AFC title games, 4-0 since '86 against the Pats in the postseason. Rams and Seahawks at 3:30. Seattle favored by 2.5. The two teams separated by 1 yard at 1 point after 2 games on the season.
Live from the Coors Light Studios, it's time for the Rip City Drive, hosted by the crazy and often irrational Chad Doing. Coors Light, mountain cold refreshment. Choose chill.
Love bounce pass to Kamara, right hand power jam, right in the face of Hawkins. Timeout Miami. Now ahead to Holiday. On the wing, pulls up for 3. Buries it, and the Blazers have their largest lead of the game. 13 points, 85-72. Love, top of the key, crosses in Yakashonis, drives, dumps it off the Klingon with the dunk. Beautiful pass by Caleb Love. Timeout Miami, and the Blazers are cruising right now. They lead it by 15, 87-72, with 7:26 to play in the third quarter. And on a 21-4 run since Miami took that very brief lead. Now to Holiday, 13 to shoot. Dumps it off to DC. Wide open up top for 3. Got it! Donovan Klingon from downtown extends the lead to 13.
The remaining Blazer faithful to their feet for some Rip City love for their squad. They've earned it. They are the best team in this association this month. They're now 9-2 in 2026. Or they will be in 2.4 seconds.
And at times, to me, Jackson, it looks like Miami has worked so hard defensively all season to be a top 10 defense, but you can't just rely on a number, right? Like, oh, we're a top 10 defense, so we'll get stops. You've got to earn them. And tonight, to me, they didn't earn stops. You had a Portland team who was very comfortable, and they're getting some pieces back. They had a lot of those guys that were questionable. They're getting pieces back, so when they're fully healthy.
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Chad Doing starts now.
Boy, how about the Portland Trailblazers, who are now 11-3 in their last 14 ball games and are now above 500 for the first time since they were 6-5. And you know what's really exciting? You know, you need to have deals that come through for you from time to time to really change the course of the franchise. And the Blazers got that in the acquisition of Denny Avdia from Washington. I don't even know if they knew he was going to turn out to be like this. I'm almost certain they did not. But the Blazers have located their superstar player. That's Denny Avdia. And he was sensational last night before he exited the game in that third quarter, about 2 minutes in, with a sore back. Now, he wanted to go back in, and he was, you know, pleading his case with Tiago Splitter, but the coach said, no, it's not worth it. We'll rest you. And then how about Shaedon Sharpe last night? 1 field goal for 3 points in the first half, had 24 in the second, and ended up scoring a team-high 27 points. And he really took over as the primary scorer and facilitator when Denny exited in the third quarter. Really proud of the group. Love watching them play basketball. Love the way they're competing right now. And, you know, Michael Shacker asked me earlier, is like, do we give the credit to Tiago Splitter? Well, he definitely deserves credit for sure for the work that he's done on short notice after the head coach got taken in by the FBI after game number 1 this year. Now, think about what I just said. The head coach got taken in by the FBI after game 1 of the season. It sounds like some type of Hollywood movie or something that's not even real, but it happened. And so Tiago was thrust into this acting head coach role with the rest of the coaching staff. The roster has been decimated by injuries throughout the course of the season, where they had 5 rotational guys who have not played for the majority of the season. But Denny Avdia, because he's a superstar, has been able to carry this group, and they've found a way to scratch out wins. And now they're starting to get healthier. We see solid contributions last night from Drew Holiday and Jeremy Grant. Donovan Clingan continues to be a dominant force in the middle. And the two-way guys have been really good in Caleb Love and Sidi Sissoko. So love to see the way that this team is playing right now. Now, I projected and predicted 45 wins for this group before the year began. I had no idea at the time that the coach was going to be taken in by the FBI and that they would have 5 rotational guys out for the majority of the season up to this point. But it's looking pretty good now. 23-22. So what would they need to go the rest of the way? 22-15? I think that's more than doable for this group based on the schedule and the way it sets up. So a lot of fun last night. They're going to be back at it tonight. It sounded like after the game that Denny would be good to go, and he said he was ready to go tonight, but he would leave it up to the medical staff. So we'll wait to see if he plays or not, but they'll have Grant and Holiday. The Raptors are one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference, but you got to love where the Blazers are at right now as they finish up this homestand tonight, and then they get ready to take off for a road trip that begins in Boston against the Celtics. So Travis is going to be on the road surrounded by Patriot fans as he gets ready for the Trailblazers and Celtics. Now, coming up on the show today, I'm excited because Justin Ballinger, who is the sportsbook manager here at Spirit Mountain Casino, will join me in about 15 minutes, and we're going to go in-depth on the championship weekend. At noon on CBS on Sunday, the Broncos will host the Patriots. Right now, New England is a 4.5-point favorite, and that's because Bo Nix broke his ankle in the game last week against Buffalo. Now, Jared Stidham is going to start, and he will get an opportunity to lead this team to the Super Bowl, which is amazing. He has not started a game for the Broncos in 2 years, but Denver re-upped him. They paid him a lot of money to be the backup, and we know Sean Payton throughout the course of his career has had great success with backup quarterbacks. Now, I respect the Patriots as well. I hate them, but I respect them. Mike Vrabel is one of the best coaches in the NFL. Josh McDaniels, who is a villain in Denver for trying to ruin the franchise's head coach, is back in New England, calling the offense, being the offensive coordinator, and he's really good at that role. It pains me to say that, but it's true. He's great as an offensive coordinator. And Drake May has been tremendous this year. He's an MVP candidate. He's been a big-time player. He's made big-time throws. And the Patriots have been very balanced both with offense and defense throughout the course of the year. So it's going to be a stiff challenge for Denver. The Broncos, throughout the course of their history, have been tremendous at home in playoff games. 15-5 all-time at home in the playoffs since 1977. They are 6-1 at home in AFC title games. 4-0 since 1986 at home against the Patriots in the postseason. In my time, 40 years as a Bronco fan, the Patriots all-time, postseason and regular season, 6-13 in Denver. So the Patriots have struggled in Denver. They've struggled during the regular season. They've struggled during the postseason. And this is why you play all of those games and do the things that the Broncos did to get the number 1 seed. So that if you wind up in a spot where you've got Jared Stidham starting for you, you're at home with the crowd behind you. Now, the weather has taken a turn for the worse. It's now looking like temperatures are going to be in the 20s. There's a potential for light snow flurries in the second half, so we'll see how things shake out. But Sean Payton, I mentioned yesterday that he kind of took a page out of Bill Parcells' book when Jeff Hostetler took over the Giants in 1990 when they went on to win Super Bowl 25 over the Bills. Parcells basically said, look, I'm not worried about Hostetler. We're not going to lose because of him. We're going to lose a game because one of you other bleepity bleeps is going to bleep things up out there. And Sean Payton delivered a very similar message to his team.
I'm not listening, and I say this respectfully, and I told the team this. I said, I'm not worried about Steady in this game. I'm worried about everyone else, all right, and how we play. And that really is the truth.
I think he believes that. Now, what do I think about the matchup? Well, I'll tell you more after I have a chance to talk with Justin. I'm always paying attention to the numbers from Vegas because I want to see what the sharps think about the game. The sharp money is on Denver. The public is on New England. That makes me very happy. Right now, it appears in the NFC title game, the sharp is on L.A., and the public is on Seattle. But we'll get more details from Justin. But I absolutely think that the Broncos can compete and win this football game. Because they're playing at home where they play so well, their defense, which led the NFL in sacks, was 68. Over the last 2 games that they've played, final regular season home game against the Chargers and last week's game against Buffalo, the defense has found a way to create turnovers. Drake May, the last 2 games, has thrown 2 picks and fumbled it 6 times. So there's going to be an opportunity there potentially for Denver to create some turnovers and be plus in the turnover category against a quarterback who's making his first road start in the postseason. That's advantage Broncos. Now, the key for them will be making sure they do a much better job against the run game than they did against Buffalo, making sure that their pass rush can time it up with the cadence and using the crowd noise to their advantage to get off and get pressure on Drake May. He's also a guy who's very mobile and can take advantage of man coverage if there's creases in the defense where he can take off. The Patriots' defense has been terrific the last 2 playoff games, wild card round and last week. So it's going to be important for Jared Stidham to protect the football. The crazy part about this game, and it's something we've never seen before, and I think it adds to the excitement of Sunday, none of us truly know. Maybe Sean Payton does, but I don't even know if he truly knows how Jared Stidham's going to respond to this situation. Now, Jared Stidham is a talented guy who's capable to come in and lead his team to victory. But the playoffs are a different speed. I think Alex Brink yesterday said it will probably take 2 to 3 series for Stidham to truly adjust to the speed of the game and the way things are moving out there. And I think it's going to be important for Sean Payton to call a game that puts Stidham in a position to where he can get some easy throws under his belt, start to get into a flow, develop some confidence, but not put him in a position early to be under pressure or to, force the football and turn it over. I think turnover battle is going to be critical in that game. Now, for the Seahawks, I've looked at the Rams the last couple of weeks, and there were periods of time throughout the season where people thought the Rams might be the best team. The Seahawks were also that team as well. A lot of people think Seattle's the best team remaining in football right now. I love Seattle at home with that crowd noise and with their defense and the way it's playing right now. The Rams have appeared to be leaking a little bit of oil, and their secondary has, been not great, especially at the cornerback position where teams have been able to make plays. So my question is, can Seattle do what they've done in the last couple of weeks, and that's just protect the football and not make the big mistake? Can Sam Darnold just rely on the guys around him and realize he doesn't have to do it all? And for Sean McVay and for Matthew Stafford, are they going to be able to find those big passing plays against that defense? The 2 teams, it's an amazing stat. 2 games on the regular season. They split the 2 games, and they're separated by 1 yard and 1 point. And that second game might have been the game of the year. It was awesome. So we'll see what happens. All right, we'll keep things rolling. I'm live here at Spirit Mountain Casino, your place to bet on college sports. And, of course, this weekend, the NFL Championship weekend. It's going to be awesome. Justin Ballinger, Sportsbook Manager. I look forward to the conversations before the big games, and he's going to join me next. And we'll go inside the numbers on the Broncos and Patriots and the Rams and Seahawks right here on the Rip City Drive. All right, back by popular demand. This is my favorite conversation of the week. It's Justin Ballinger, who is the sportsbook manager at Spirit Mountain Casino, your place to bet on all sports, especially college sports. But this weekend it's all about championship weekend in the NFL with the AFC and NFC championship games. And Justin, thanks again for coming back on, my brother.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming out again.
Well, good call on last week. We talked about Denver and Buffalo, and I think you and I both settled in that Denver, based on the line movement and where everything set, was the right side, and it went to overtime, but the Broncos found a way to get it done. As you might imagine, I was thrilled. Unfortunately, Bo got hurt, and that sucked, but I thought that game was one of the all-time great playoff games, and it was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it had everything, and with the line moves, Bills were opened as a favorite, Broncos closed as a favorite, and, the game was just back and forth like the line was, and it was fantastic to see.
Yeah, it was great. And then the Seahawks and 49ers, you thought Seattle was the right side, and that turned out to be definitely the right side. They just steamrolled the 49ers in a no-doubter.
Yeah, it first play, right? Kind of had the vibes that Oregon-Indiana game did just right from the start. They punched the Niners right in the mouth and never looked back.
Yeah, the New England Houston game, normally I want the better defense getting points. And I thought Houston was pretty strong going into that game, but, the offense and the turnovers changed that game, and the Patriots, even with their own mistakes on offense, able to capitalize.
Yeah, I mean, the turnovers were just ridiculous in that game. You
insane.
You look away for 5 minutes, and both teams had the ball and lost it in that stretch. But, hey, hats off to the Patriots defense. We heard about their cupcake schedule all year and, how they maybe wouldn't translate into this postseason success, and they've just been absolutely killing it so far.
I agree, and they played a lot better down the stretch. And you're right, man. Physically, I thought they dominated the line of scrimmage in both games against the Chargers and then in last week's games against Houston. And I just have a lot of respect for Mike Vrabel. I think he's a great coach, and that group was well prepared for that game last week. I thought they played like their hair was on fire.
Yeah, I guess that's, like you said, an extension of their head coach. Vrabel. Even when Vrabel was at Tennessee, they were just seemingly overachieving in the playoffs. They always play so tough, and glad to see that he's doing it again.
What were your thoughts on the Bears and Rams? I thought that was a tremendous football game. A lot of drama at the end. Caleb Williams able to put his team in overtime, and then the Rams, based on a turnover, got the job done and got the cover in the process.
Yeah.
The Bears got the cover, but the Rams got the win.
Correct. Rams advanced, but that was another game where the Rams felt like the easily the right side for most of the game, and then it's like, oh my gosh, the Bears are going to do it again, aren't they? And I honestly just thought, destiny is playing a part here or something, and the Bears would pull it out, but eventually one bad play and finally got him.
Okay, let's talk about these games this weekend. We'll start with the NFC title game. A lot of people in this area, huge Seahawk fans, they love this game. Right now, Seattle is a 2.5-point favorite. And the total right now is set at 46.5. So walk me through the week, the opening line up until now. What have you seen?
Yeah, we opened at -3, and it was at -3, from like 11 p.m. to midnight. By the time we opened the doors, actually the following morning, it was at 2.5 already, which is essentially where it stayed the entire week. We, as you mentioned, and as we all know, we're in Seahawks territory here, so we're extremely lopsided on the Seahawks. But how about 96% of the money on the Seahawks lopsided?
Wow!
Right now, so
that's a massive number.
Huge number. There is some interest on the Rams money line. They're getting some of their dollars back there, but yeah, it's been all Seahawks, and I think it's that number. It's really driving it. You don't have to buy it off 3. You get it at 2.5.
And that's a number people like to bet if you're taking a favorite, right? 2.5, because a lot of games end with a 3-point spread.
Absolutely. That's probably the best number.
What do you anticipate with the number from here between now and Sunday afternoon? Do you think it will stay at 2.5, or do you think the public might drive it up to 3? Like, what's your anticipation here?
I'm not sure. It's not as lopsided other places, in Vegas or Atlantic City or anything like that. It's a lot closer to 50-50. So I think unless we see a huge, drive on one of these two teams in terms of bets between now and then, I think it's probably going to stay where it's at.
Will you adjust your line because of the lopsided nature of the bets coming in on Seattle?
It's possible. We haven't yet. It is a possibility though, but it's just going to kind of see how the betting plays out prior to that, before we decide on anything like that.
Okay, what about the total at 46.5? What have you seen with that number throughout the course of the week?
Yeah, actually, it's been pretty much all over betting. It opened right around here and hasn't moved much. We here at Spirit Mountain, we probably only get 10-20% of the amount bet on the total that we see on like the point spreads.
Yeah.
So we're never overly flooded per se on a total, but we. For what we do take in, we are very lopsided on the over right now.
Do you think that's just because the majority of people here at Spirit Mountain, the wager, they prefer taking a side? It's more fun for them to take a side?
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to see more overs. A lot of people don't want to sit there and cheer for turnovers and, getting stopped on fourth down, things like that. That's just not as fun.
Yeah, cheering for an under is not fun.
Exactly. But I think, too, if I'm not mistaken, 38-37 was the final score of the Thursday night game they played in Week 15. So, you just go back to recent memory, and they blew the total out of the water. So I'm sure that's driving it a little bit too.
That's true. You know what's amazing? I love this stat, and you probably heard it too. But through the two games they played, they split the two games. They're separated, the two teams, Rams and Seahawks, by 1 yard and 1 point.
Oh my gosh!
Is that amazing?
I didn't know the yard stat.
1 yard
crazy.
and 1 point in the two games.
That's insane.
I thought, and I told my buddy, his name's Daniel, a huge Seahawk fan, and I told him last week, I said, you should be cheering for the Bears because I think the Rams they match up with the Seahawks better than any team in football. I truly believe that, and that's what I think makes this such a titanic matchup in Seattle. Usually Seattle at home, tough to beat, but the Rams match up really well with them.
Yeah, they do. I actually think in the NFC right now that they might be the only team that can match up with the Seahawks.
I agree.
My big I guess concern if you are on the Rams side is, they have all those stats about how close they've been in the two games, but Darnold does the 7 turnovers, and the Seahawks are still able to overcome all that. So if he doesn't have a turnover, what does that look like for Seattle then? Do they smoke him like they did the Niners? So I think that's one of the interesting stats that I'm kind of looking for this weekend.
The other thing that was good to note, if you're a Seahawks fan, Sam Darnold has had that oblique injury, not listed on the injury report this week, so it seems like he's got a clean bill of health, which is nice. And, like you were mentioning about the bow injury, like the only thing that sucks about this weekend is you want the teams to be at or close to full strength instead of limping in with a backup quarterback or having key position groups that have been decimated by injury. I want to see these teams at full strength because the games are so good.
Exactly. It really is like too many Super Bowls, in one day.
No doubt about it. I love it. Now, the smart money, like, where are the sharps at on the Hawks and Rams?
This one, it appears to me that the Rams are getting more of the sharp money because there has been this kind of reluctancy for the sports books to move it to 3.
Yeah.
And the fact that it did open at 3, it's like each sports book out there has had it at 3 at some point. And the fact that we're sitting at 2.5, after 5 or 6 days of betting into it, tells me that the Rams are probably the sharper side here, just because of the book's reluctancy to move that number back to 3.
Okay, that's interesting. So that could be a good sign for Rams backers, right?
Could be a good sign for Rams backers, yeah.
Okay, now for you, and I know this, obviously we talk about this with the Oregon Ducks. You get a lot of Oregon Duck bets, futures, and, games, sides, everything. But with the Seahawks, it's the same thing, right? You get a lot of Seahawk money down here.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of Seahawks. We probably see not quite as many bets on the Seahawks as we do the Ducks, but a lot of times the Ducks odds are only, even preseason to win the championship, you're only getting 6, 8, 10 to 1. So, Seahawks we've had at 40 to 1, 30 to 1, even up to 50 to 1 at certain points. So it's just, the amount of the liability grows faster on the sportsbook side of things because of how lopsided the odds have been at certain points for Seattle.
So Seattle winning the Super Bowl wouldn't necessarily be the best case scenario for Spirit Mountain.
No, it feels like Oregon Ducks all over again. So it's Seattle. So
okay, so we know who Justin's going to be pulling for in the NFC title game for sure. Now, Broncos and Patriots. This game means everything to me. I am excited, and I love the unknown about Jared Stidham. So right now the line is currently New England a 4.5-point favorite on the road, and the total is 42.5. So what have you seen for the line from opening line up until now? What's been going on?
Yeah, so this line opened 5.5, and I even saw some 6s.
So did I.
Like right after the Bo news came out on Sunday afternoon. So it sat at 5.5 for most of the week, and then in the last couple days, now we've seen 5. We've seen it down to 4.5. We're currently sitting at 4.5, but there are even sports books out there right now where I've seen it as low as 3.5. So that tells me, the someone's betting is probably the sharps on the Broncos to drive that line down. And a lot of times, when the sharps. They'll know what team they want to bet on as soon as the matchup's set. So a lot of times they'll sit there and they see, like in a game like this where Bo gets hurt, everyone's going to bet on the Patriots, the public side. So sometimes they'll sit back and wait and see how far up that number gets driven, based on the public betting.
Yeah.
So I think, they gave it a few days and then decided, now's the time to throw the Denver side of money into things.
So championship weekend could be a lot like you were talking about with the national title game, where there's one game, the sharps want to sit back and see how far the public's going to take that number with Indiana. And when it gets up to 8.5 or 9, they'll swoop in and pound the dog, which is what drove that number down to 7.5 before kickoff.
Right, absolutely. I guarantee if this game had gotten to a 6, and stayed at 6 for a while, that would have been probably the point where we would have seen the sharp side just come in and take it down. So.
Okay, so what do you anticipate for this line now? So it's down to 3.5 in some books. It's at 4.5 right now at Spirit Mountain Casino. Do you think this line will continue to move down as we get closer to kickoff on Sunday? What do you anticipate?
Yeah, so it was extremely lopsided in terms of Patriots money up until yesterday. And while we're still really lopsided at Spirit Mountain, Vegas has evened out quite a bit. So I don't expect it to necessarily – I don't expect the Patriots or Broncos to get 80% of the money at this point. It's probably going to be more even. So I think what we're looking at here is maybe just a half point more.
Interesting.
I can't see this number getting down to 3 at any point, and I can't see it getting back up to like a 6 either. So, we're probably right around this 4.5 wheelhouse.
Okay, so you and I both agree that the dog in this game, the Broncos, is the right side. So how far – what would that number have to get to before you would feel uncomfortable taking the dog? Would it be 3.5?
Yeah, for me it would probably be 3.5, and that's just because. Well, first of all, I have a mental block where if I see a line, and then I don't bet it, and a couple days go by, and then I decide I like it.
You feel like you might be jumping in too late.
I feel like I kind of missed the boat. So, obviously, you always want to get the 3-point cushion if you can, but for me, 3.5. feels like it might have moved too much from what the original line was that I could have gotten it at. But I definitely like it at 4.5, that's for sure.
Now, with the people you've talked to in Vegas, with the money being pretty much a little more even than it is here, do you think that's a case of, is this one of those games where we have a divide between the sharps and the public?
Yeah, I think so. I think we saw all public Patriots money come in the first few days. And, I even almost, I guess, overreacted when the Bo news came out. I jumped on and I almost placed a bet on the Patriots right away. And like, you know what? Don't let the recency bias and your emotions kind of get the best of you. Let the dust settle a little bit.
Okay, so how do you – this is one thing I wanted to ask you. I think the look-ahead line for the Broncos-Patriots with Bo Nix being healthy was like Denver being a 1 to 1.5 point favorite. Now, if we know that, and then all of a sudden the line comes out and the Patriots are – a 5.5 point favorite without Bo, is a 7-point swing. When do you know that number is too much of a swing the other direction to where it's an overreaction?
Yeah, there's no,
there's
no
formula
one shoe fits all for that answer. And a lot of times I think each, especially with sharps, they all have their own kind of ways of going about it where they'll think they still have value or they don't. Everyone's different, but there's no right or wrong way to do it, but it's just crazy to think that one position, one person on the field can be worth 7 points.
Yeah.
This late in the season, but you take Mahomes off the Chiefs and let's see what happens. It's kind of, obviously quarterback is the most important position on the football field. Yeah. And I think too with the Broncos, it's just Bo, this is the first time someone's taking a snap, I think, besides Bo since he was drafted.
That is correct.
And so Sean Payton's done everything, I think, based on Bo's talents and Bo's skill set.
Uh-huh.
So I'm wondering if maybe the 7-point move there is kind of in relation to they don't necessarily think Stidham, or maybe he won't be comfortable. Maybe he's not, going to be the same as Bo in this system, and there's that adjustment period.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But, yeah, again, it's up, is it 7 points? That's kind of, everyone's going to think of differently on that one.
Well, what I do like here is you get the better defense at home with a great coach in Sean Payton. Like, I like the value there with the dog. The only part that concerns me now as a Bronco fan, because I want the Broncos to win and go to the Super Bowl, is that there doesn't appear to be any disagreement amongst the Sharps, right?
I know both games.
That worries me.
Yeah, I know. It's obviously in terms of betting, you'd like to be on that side, but it still feels weird, doesn't it, when it's unanimous?
Yeah.
And neither Sharps, Squares, no one's winning 100%. You know,
right.
It's all relatively close in the end of the day. So.
And we saw it in the wild card weekend, right? The public got over in the wild card weekend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is interesting. There was the swing of the pendulum the following week where the Sharps got over in the divisional round, and now we got to wait and see what happens this weekend.
Yeah, the playoffs have been quite a pendulum, in terms of that.
Oh, my gosh. It just drives me crazy. So what matchup in the Super Bowl, would there be a preferred matchup? I know what you don't want. You don't want the Seahawks to win the title because that would be bad for Spirit Mountain. But is there a matchup that would generate more excitement in terms of action here at the Sportsbook? Is that the Seahawks being involved with any team, or what do you think?
Yeah, ideally, in terms of just, the area and getting people excited, I think a healthy Bo Nix Broncos against the Seahawks would have been fantastic because we have, the Oregon alumni aspect side of things with the professional team in the area.
And you have two teams that used to be in the same division and rivals, so there's that history. Plus, they played in the Super Bowl 10 years ago, and you had the rematch situation, which is I guess that's the matchup I'm pulling for, because I grew up going to Seattle-Denver games when they're in AFC West, so I would like to see a rematch of the Hawks and Broncos.
Yeah, absolutely. If you take our money aside and ask me just as, a sports fan, and I think it's fantastic what the Seahawks have done this year. I love McDonald. I love, the way they play the game, and I think it would be great for the area if Seattle can take another step forward.
So what do you think, of the sides in the two games? It sounds like, are the Broncos the best side to take?
The Broncos, well, it feels like the best because you get the extra 4.5 points.
Yeah.
If looking at the Rams, if, they are the right side there, it's still hard, especially just like a mental thing, to look at a line and I'm only getting 2.5.
Am I going to get punked on a field goal?
Am I going to get punked? Exactly. And I know both of their games have
inside
weirdly
of 2.5
been
points.
Inside. Yeah, exactly. But I can't imagine. That's not a trend that you bank on it happening a third time.
Yeah, that's right. But just remember, if you don't think that they can cover the 2.5, it happened in both games, which is crazy.
Yeah, crazy. I know. There's times when it does not make sense to get to 3. It depends on a lot of factors, but it's not always the necessary move.
And you got Drake May making his first road start in an NFL playoff game.
Very true, right? We've seen him, have success the first 2 games, but both were at home. Both were in New England, so now he gets to go on the road. And also, the Chargers and Houston's defense, obviously fantastic seasons they had and everything, but I just feel like Denver at home is going to be a bigger animal than those 2 defenses.
I agree.
For Drake May.
Here is take a listen to Sean Payton here. This is Sean talking about he's not worried about Stiddy. He's worried about everybody else.
I'm not listening, and I say this respectfully, and I told the team this. I said, I'm not worried about Stiddy in this game. I'm worried about everyone else, all right, and how we play, and that really is the truth.
That's a coach with confidence right there. He took a page out of Bill Parcells' book. I shared this story, but when Jeff Hostetler took over the Giants in 1990 and led them to the championship in Super Bowl 25, Parcells famously got up in front of the team. He's like, look, I'm not worried about our quarterback. We're not going to lose because of Hostetler. We're going to lose because one of you other guys is going to do some bleepity-bleep, dumb bleepity stuff out there on the field.
Yeah.
Isn't that great?
It's hilarious.
Oh, my gosh. All right. Justin Ballinger is with us. Any other notes or any interesting tidbits that you want to get out before I let you roll?
Nothing too crazy. Just don't steal all of our money, please. That's our one message we're
by the way,
out there.
You absolutely crushed your assessment of the title game with Miami and Indiana. You and I both walked away feeling like Miami was the play. And I never felt like in that game that Indiana was going to run away with it and get the cover. And then Miami turned out to get the spread. It was the perfect scenario for you because you were protected against the Miami futures, but also you didn't get the Indiana money going against you because they didn't cover the spread. It was awesome. It couldn't have gotten any better.
Yeah, no, that game went really nicely for us. And, just the way the game played it out where it was so close the whole time, it's one of those fortunate games, doesn't always go that easy. So.
All right, what time is a good time for people coming down here on Championship Sunday to enjoy the games here at Spirit Mountain Casino? First game's at noon. If you get down here by, 9, 10 a.m., you'll be able to get a good seat and everything.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 9, 10 a.m., get a good seat, get a meal, maybe win a couple bucks on the slot machines first. But, yeah, come on down 9 or 10 o'clock, and we'll be ready to roll.
All right, good. So I love it because you give me confidence that the Broncos are not a lost cause. They've got an opportunity to go out there and get something done this weekend.
Never say never.
All right, Justin Ballinger, sportsbook manager here for Spirit Mountain Casino joining us. Big thanks to Justin. We'll keep things rolling. Brian O, Fox Sports Radio, going to join me at 4:20. All right, just got a text message from my good friend Michael Llewellyn. Happy Friday, Chad. Go Broncos for one of these Trailblazers pregame shows or the Rip City Drive. You should have me on as a guest sometime. Michael, I will reach out to you and we'll get this set up because you're always welcome on the show, and I always appreciate hearing from you, buddy, and I appreciate your support during the difficult time last month with my brother. And I will say this. I want to talk about this real quick. I went through and I had my colonoscopy, which I'm sure you all are very excited to hear about. But I made a promise to my brother. He wanted to make sure I got it done, and he told me that when I went to go visit him in Georgia before he passed away because it was colon cancer that ended up taking his life. And so I went, and look, I'm like any other guy. I don't like to go to the doctor. I don't like talking to doctors. I don't like visiting the doctor. I don't like doing anything. It gives me anxiety, and I just don't like to spend my time there. And I've been very healthy and blessed to not have to spend a lot of time at the doctor's office, but I made a promise, and I went through the process. And I will say this on the other side, looking at everything now that I've been through it, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. The prep is annoying, but it's not awful. It was manageable. And the procedure itself was really nothing. I went in, you dress down, you put on that ridiculous robe that's got your butt cheeks hanging out, and then the worst part was when they inserted the needles into my wrist for the IVs. And the weirdest part was, man, that propofol, the Michael Jackson drug they gave me to put me to sleep, like all I know is I got wheeled back, totally awake, and I was in the procedure room. The doctor was really cool. He was laid back and not uppity, or he's just like a normal dude, which I liked. And then there was another lady there who was hot, smoking hot. And I was talking to her, and I just said, hey, I'm sorry for anything you're about to see. I apologize. And there was another guy there, the anesthesiologist. And they had me roll over on my side so they could perform the procedure. And then all of a sudden, I was talking about something, a bunch of nonsense, and then I don't remember anything else. It was like everyone that told me it was the best nap of my life, they were right. And the next thing you know, I'm waking up in a recovery room. So if you're a guy, I'm 50. If you're somewhere in the area where it's time, just go get the procedure done. I had 6 pull-ups that they removed, and I think a couple of them were like precancerous. But anyways, I got them out. So those are removed. I'll go back and get another one here, 3 to 5 years down the road. But I got that taken care of. And had I not gone in, it's possible that one of those could have developed into, a problem. But I got it done. And, yes, I know, I'm just like you guys. It's annoying, going to the doctor. But if there's one thing that we can do to honor my brother, just go out and get tested, get checked, and get it taken care of now so you don't have to worry about it. Because this kind of stuff is preventable, and you don't want those type of issues. So there you have it. And, I think the good thing is I was out cold. But, yeah, the thought of someone, like, what's a good way I can put this without being too graphic? I don't like the idea of someone venturing into my area into one-way roads. You know what I'm saying? Like, some roads are one-way. I don't want people venturing into roads that are one-way going the wrong way. So the thought of someone exploring you or doing this or that or whatever, yeah, it's not appealing. But just go and get it done. Get checked. It's not difficult, and it's considered preventative, so more than likely it's not going to cost you any money. So it's a very good thing. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, going to join me coming up at 4:20, and we'll get his full take on championship weekend and where he's at. And what has he referred to Bo Nix as? Hobo Nix. So what does Nix need to do? He took out Jordan Love and the Packers. He took out Patrick Mahomes. He took out Josh Allen. Like, is that enough to not be Hobo Nix? I mean, he was the best quarterback in the divisional round last weekend. So we'll find out what Noah's temperature is on Bo Nix after his performance last week, getting the job done, leading 2 drives at the end of the halves to score touchdowns, which is huge. And now this week they got to do it with Jarrett Stidham. All right, Rip City Drive live here from the BetMGM Sportsbook at Spirit Mountain Casino, your place to bet on college sports and the championship weekend coming up on Sunday. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, 4 o'clock Chad here. We got Brian No, Fox Sports Radio coming up at 4:20. Trailblazers back in action tonight, second of a back-to-back against the Raptors. Tip at 7. Chris Burkhardt with Game Day Live from Moda at 5. Denny Avdia is listed as doubtful after leaving last night's game with a sore back. He wanted to come back in, but Coach Splitter said no. Grant and Holiday will play. Blazers 11-3 in their last 14 games, above 500 for the first time since they were 6-5. Championship Sunday, noon on CBS. Patriots and Broncos. New England favored by 4.5. Jared Stidham will start in place of Bo Nix. Denver head coach Sean Payton not worried about Stiddy.
I'm not listening, and I say this respectfully, and I told the team this. I said, I'm not worried about Stiddy in this game. I'm worried about everyone else, all right, and how we play. And that really is the truth.
At 3:30, Rams at the Seahawks. Seattle at 2.5-point favorite. Game on Fox. The two teams are separated by 1 yard and 1 point after 2 games they split on the season. Brian No, Fox Sports Radio coming up in 20 minutes. Yeah! Now, this is a rematch. The Broncos and Patriots have met in the AFC Championship game 2 times before. Both were won by the Broncos with Peyton Manning in 2013 and 2015. And I just want to reset this because it's one of the all-time great phone calls I've ever received in radio. But I was making my prediction for the game in 2013 that I liked the Broncos to win, and they did. 26-16, they dominated the football game. Tom Brady, 0-3 all-time playoff games in Denver. But Robert, the drunk guy, and I really need a job where I can just sit around and drink during the daytime. It's pretty awesome. He was incensed that I would pick the Broncos to beat the Patriots.
Robert in Portland. What's up, Robert?
Okay, you're saying New England and Denver.
Yes.
So who's smarter, Brady or Manning? Who's smarter, Belichick or your quarterback?
I'm going to say that Peyton Manning's smarter than
New
Belichick.
New England.
What is your point?
I'm sorry. New England. We beat Manning so many times. We beat.
Hey, what happened the last time that Manning faced Brady in the playoffs? What happened the last time Brady faced Manning in the playoffs?
Sorry. We're going to Super Bowl. Bye.
That's Robert. That's an amazing phone call. We need to listen to it again. I want to make sure I reset it properly with how many words he mispronounced throughout the course of that phone call in his drunken stupor. And by the way, Manning was 3-1 lifetime in AFC title games against Brady. We beat Manning so many times. What are you, Harry Carey? Freak? Robert, the drunk guy, huge Patriot fan. I wonder if he's still with us. Do you think Robert's still with us? And if so, what does he think about the game this weekend? Who's smarter, Stidham or Vrabel?
Robert in Portland. What's up, Robert?
Okay, you're saying New England and Denver.
Yes.
So who's smarter, Brady or Manning? Who's smarter, Belichick or your quarterback?
I'm going to say that Peyton Manning's smarter than Belichick.
New England.
What is your point?
I'm sorry. New England. We beat Manning so many times. We beat.
Hey, what happened the last time that Manning faced Brady in the playoffs? What happened the last time Brady faced Manning in the playoffs?
Sorry. We're going to Super Bowl. Bye.
All right, that's Robert, New England fan, drunk guy. So I did a quick recap. So he says New England. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Like he added a few extra E's in there. So you're saying New England and Denver. Now he says Denver, not with an N, but with an M. Demver, Denver. And then he was yelling at me, who's smarter, Brady or your quarterback? So he doesn't say quarterback. He says quarterback. Almost like Quar back, quarterback. So he's got New England, and then he says Denver with an M, Denver. He kept yelling, who's smarter? And then he was apologizing like most drunk people do. Like, you're sitting out at the bar, maybe you're the designated driver and you got to take care of your friends. They keep apologizing for everything. I'm so sorry, Chad. I didn't mean to get like this, but I was having too much fun. And then instead of Super Bowl, I kind of like how he said that. He said Soup Bowl. We're going to the Super Bowl. And quarterback. I don't know what my favorite is and all that. Probably Soup Bowl. I do like the apologizing like most drunk people do, the yelling too, the lack of volume control. But I do like the way he said Denver. But New England's pretty good too. New England. So let me get this straight. You said New England, Denver? Robert, what's wrong with you, man? Where are you, Robert?
Robert in Portland. What's up, Robert?
Okay, you're saying New England and Denver.
Yes.
So who's smarter, Brady or Manning? Who's smarter, Belichick or your quarterback?
I'm going to say that Peyton Manning's smarter than
New
Belichick.
New England.
What is your point?
I'm sorry. New England. We beat Manning so many times. We beat.
Hey, what happened the last time that Manning faced Brady in the playoffs? What happened the last time Brady faced Manning in the playoffs?
Sorry. We're going to Super Bowl. Bye.
All right, there you go. I don't know where Robert's at or if he's still with us, but that was an all-timer right there. Thank you, Robert. I appreciate you. Telephone number 503-248-0620. Now, in terms of matchups in the Super Bowl, I would love to have Denver and Seattle in the bowl once again. I grew up going to those games for years. I went to the Kingdome in 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94 was in Husky Stadium, 95 at the Kingdome, 96, 97, 98, 99, 2000 at Husky Stadium, 2001 at Husky Stadium, and 2002. They had already switched conferences in 2002, but the Broncos played a game in Seattle. I saw that one at the new Seahawks Stadium. So I grew up a fan of the rivalry. They played in Super Bowl 48, of course, where the Seahawks thumped Manning and Denver, or should I say Denver, but that's the one I want. Plus, it would be fun to have 2 weeks of prep and talk about the game with the Seahawks fans here in the area. But I have a lot of respect. And, I grew up because I went to so many Seahawks games when I was younger at the Dome. I grew up admiring certain Seahawks. Steve Largent's one of my favorite NFL players of all time, one of my favorite non-Broncos ever, he and Kurt Warner. Cortez Kennedy was one of the all-time greats. It's hard to find a player I respected more than him. I was a big fan of Kurt Warner, Jacob Green, and Jeff Bryant. Kenny Easley was awesome. I was a huge fan of Brian Bosworth when he was at Oklahoma, and then he was drafted by the Seahawks, and then he started talking junk about John Elway, so I hated him forever. And by the way, I just saw this. It's pretty sweet. But John Elway is going to be the honorary captain for the Broncos on Sunday. The Duke of Denver is going to be the honorary captain. And then Champ Bailey is going to be the one that plants the flag. Those are two former Bronco greats right there. But that's what I would want. And I really respect what the Seahawks have done. I was really happy they went out and got Sam Darnold because I like him and I like the way he's overcome throughout the course of his career. He's had back-to-back terrific seasons in the NFL. And then if you look at Mike Macdonald, the way I judge a head coach is how quickly do they get their side of the ball dialed in. It did not take Mike Macdonald long to get that defense dialed in. they were sensational. And the team's been great throughout the course of the year. They're a great home team, but Sam Darnold's been awesome. And Jackson Smith and Jigma is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. So I like their balance. I like their defense. Obviously, the crowd noise is a big advantage, but I'm a big fan of what Mike McDonald has done. So I would love to see Seattle and Denver in the Super Bowl again. The weird part about Jarrett Stidham starting is, like, I have confidence that the Broncos can win. And I think of all the teams remaining, Denver with Sean Payton, better equipped to deal with the loss of a quarterback than any other team remaining, especially with the talent that they have and the experience in Jarrett Stidham being a 7-year guy in the NFL. But I just don't think anyone really knows. I certainly don't. Maybe Sean Payton's got insight on what he thinks is going to happen or a good feel for what's going to take place, but we don't know. How do you respond to that situation? How long will it take him to get adjusted to the speed of the game? Will he make any mistakes? Is he going to make any early mistakes in the game that will prove costly? Turnovers that lead to short fields, which make easy points for the Patriots. How is Drake May going to respond to his first road playoff game as a starter? I mean, he's been very careless with the football through 2 games against the Chargers and Texans. And these are all things that we just don't know the answer to. And that's what makes the game very intriguing. So I do think the Broncos' defense will play extremely well. I expect the Patriots' defense to play really well. I don't know this for sure, but it would seem to me that the Broncos would have a better chance in a lower-scoring game. You know, maybe this is the type of game where you got to really play it close defensively, maybe muck it up just a little bit, and then put yourself in a position to win a game in the teens, or maybe a 20-17 type ball game. And the reason why I say that is that if it becomes high scoring, you know, can Stidham keep up if it becomes that type of ball game? Also, the weather now has taken a turn for the worse. I don't know if the weather is going to promote a real high-scoring football game. So we could be looking at a low-scoring game, which I think probably benefits Denver. So if we take a look at the current conditions in the Denver area, right now the temperature is 11 degrees. That's a bit chilly. And the game last week at this time looked like it was going to be about 40 degrees and sunny. But right now, Saturday, 21, Sunday, 20 degrees. And right now the forecast for Sunday is partly cloudy in the morning, followed by periods of snow later in the day. Very cold. High around 20 degrees, winds north at 10 to 15 miles an hour. Chance of snow at 60%, about 1 inch of snow expected. That's incredible. And then Monday, it's going to go right back to 44 degrees and sunny. Tuesday, 47, 52 and sunny by Wednesday. Like, that is the Rocky Mountains for you. All right, we'll keep things rolling. My favorite, my brother from another mother, Brian No Fox Sports Radio, is coming up next on the Rip City Drive. All right, he is my brother from another mother from Fox Sports Radio. The one and only Brian Noah is back on the show. And, Brian, you just said something that I can relate to because my best friend lives down in Vegas, so I frequent the area. But he has actually taken me around town, and he has found side streets and different surface areas to be able to navigate some of the ridiculous stoplights in the town. It's crazy.
Dude, Chad Doing, first and foremost. Glad to be on with you, my brother. But, yeah, dude, I don't know what it is with these Vegas stoplights. Like, I was going to make it. I was just out and about, running some errands, and I was going to make it back in plenty of time, and one stoplight did not go my way. Where you have, like, the blinking yellow arrow, and the cars in front of me, they weren't aggressive enough, Chad. They were very passive. And, like, I couldn't go, and I'm like, no! Like, this could doom everything, right? Just one stoplight could be the difference between being on time and being 5 minutes late. It's crazy.
All right, we'll get to the football in just a moment, but you remember I told you before the start of the basketball season, I said, man, I think Vegas is undervaluing the Blazers at 34.5 wins or 35.5. You need to pound the over on that, and you did. And then shortly after game number one, their head coach was hauled away by the FBI, and now 5 rotational guys have missed most of the season, and here they are sitting at 23-22, 11-3 in their last 14 games, and they found a superstar in Denny Avdia. How amazing is it to watch them play hoop right now?
It's amazing, Chad Doing. And I'll tell you what, this was a gift from you and the betting gods because, a little backstory, and I try not to be too serious when I'm on with you, but I never scroll Facebook. I never scroll. And the main reason is because, I've wanted to have a family of my own for a long time, and it just hasn't worked out. I'm probably a psycho to get along with. It's probably my fault. But I don't scroll because I don't want to see it. Here's little Johnny in his third-grade photos, and I'm like, that's great. Yeah, I don't need that. It's not good for me. I never scroll. So the only things I see if I'm on Facebook, if I have a notification and I click on whatever the notification is, I just see the very top post. That's it. And I just randomly saw a video from you, and you're laying out this really good case for the Blazers, and you're like, this number is way too low. And I'm like, you know what? I think Chad Doing is onto something here. I'm going to bet this freaking thing. And you're right, one game in, disaster. Like, Chauncey Billups was hauled off. I'm like, what just happened? What are we doing over here? And then fast forward to the here and now, winning record. I was doing the math the other day. It's like, they're 45 games in.
Bino! Oh, my gosh. He was so good he was on fire. He's back.
Oh, I'm like, Chad knew what he's talking about. He redeemed himself. So, yeah, man, we're gonna cakewalk this thing. And I did no adjusted line on this. I went a little higher, maybe like 38.5, something like that. So I'm hoping to hit that as well.
What's funny is that I did the math last night. So I projected before the year that they would hit 45 wins. And, of course, I had people like, oh, Chad, that's a little bit steep. But now I was doing the math last night, and they only have to go 22-15 the rest of the way. And if you look at the schedule based on how they're playing, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
It's not a problem.
They're live. They're live to do that. I got to tell you, man, I've never told you this. I love your naysayer voice. You know what I mean? Like when you do the voice of the naysayer, like the people pushing back on your brilliance. Oh, Chad, I don't know. You do it so well. But I love the Chad Doing naysayer voice. Yeah, I was saying 45 wins is possible. Oh, Chad, cracks me up every time.
I know. It kind of reminds me of when I opened my mouth with you and got punished for it for 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl with the Rams and Patriots. Like, oh, Chad, you can't say not possible. That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I paid the price for that one.
How sweet is it, by the way, that the naysayers just have to eat it? And I'll tell you what, I know you've got a long history of this as well, Chad.
Yeah.
It's funny. When the naysayer is right, you'll definitely hear about it. When the naysayer is wrong, cockroaches scattering. Like you can't find them. You look under every rock, you can't find them. They disappear, man.
They do. And trust me, I heard that because, as you might imagine, I talk a lot of Broncos over the last couple of weeks leading into the playoff game against Buffalo, and I heard from about 200 different people like, Chad, I just really don't believe in Bo Nix, and he's not going to be able to beat Josh Allen. So do you think I've heard from any of those clowns over the last 7 days after Bo Nix outperformed the great Josh Allen, the Superman in that game? No, I haven't heard a word from them, man.
Not a
They
word.
disappeared.
Shocking. Like, at some point, you would think there'd be one person that would just own it and be like, "Hey, Chad, I gotta give you credit, man. He played better. He didn't commit all these turnovers, and Josh Allen sure did. Not one. You can't buy. If you paid one person to be like, just act like you're one of the naysayers, so I can get a little satisfaction. You still might not have that guy come through for you.
Well, let me give you an example. I was wrong about Indiana and Kurt Signetti. I just tipped the cap and say that guy is a genius at coaching football. We just saw the Indiana Hoosiers in our lifetime, Brian, go 16-0 and win a national championship. How bizarre is that one?
That is unbelievable, man. It's crazy. It's funny. I was watching some college game yesterday. It was, Wisconsin-Penn State.
Yeah.
I was watching that, and Calbert Chaney was on the call. He was making his color commentary debut. The old IU, hoops player. And the play-by-play guy he was doing the game with, he goes, Calbert, and I don't know how he worded it, but something like, what do you think the chances were if I told you, hey, IU in football is going to go undefeated and win a championship, and, this is where we would be. And he tied it with something else that was crazy, super peculiar. And he's like, I wouldn't have believed it, man. I would not. What a job, man. How many times have we talked about this, Chad, where Signetti, the stat that stands out in my mind more than anything, the 3 years before he took over, they were 9-27. That's where they were as a football program. And that's tied to the losingest program ever in FBS, the losingest ever. And they were down at a low point. Even for their standards, 9-27 over the previous 3 years. And instantaneously, they are 16-0, national champions, won the Big Ten, Heisman Trophy winner. It's straight out of a movie, man. If you went to a movie 2 years ago and saw it, you'd be like, this is dumb, man. This is so dumb, so far-fetched. It literally happened. It's crazy.
No, it's so good. I really enjoy it. So I love that story. Now, I want to talk to you about a lot of different things with let's start with the Bills, man. Seriously, did the Broncos break them or what? Because the only guy that came out and was honest in the assessment after the game was Josh Allen. It was bizarre to see him crying, but I know that he really cares. But he actually came out and said, you know what? We made too many mistakes to win the game. I feel like I cost my team. And I'm like, okay, bingo. Then you had the head coach complaining about the officiating. And then we saw the press conference a couple of days ago with the GM and the owner throwing everyone else under the bus. It's like, where's the accountability, Brian?
It was just a total clown show. It's one thing to lose a game where you turn it over 5 times, but they made that way worse. If you want to fire McDermott, I have no issue with it. I know it's been how do you run this guy out of town? It's the perfect storm to boost McDermott's credentials way more than they need to be. Bean gets promoted, McDermott gets fired, and people are like, whoa, what's going on? I get that. I totally get that, but don't fall into the trap of thinking McDermott's better than he is, because he's not. Of course. He's 8-8 in the playoffs with arguably the best quarterback in the game. That's crazy. Yeah. And you want to take up for the guy? He's won a playoff game in 6 consecutive seasons. That's one of 4 franchises to do that. The Bills are one of 4. The other 3 franchises won at least 3 Super Bowls in that span. A couple of them, the Patriots and the Chiefs, got to 2 others. They got to 5 Super Bowls in their winning streak span. The Bills haven't even been to 1. And you don't want to kill McDermott for this last one. Okay, I get it. 5 turnovers, not all of his fault. They had a lead at Arrowhead with 13 seconds to go. How do you lose that game? You lose it because Sean McDermott is your head coach. If I'm sitting on my couch and I'm like, squib it, just squib kick it. You're going to burn 3-4 seconds? That's valuable. There's not enough time. If I know that on my couch, there's no excuse for Sean McDermott. So I'm not one of the many that are like, how is he? He's a really good. No, he's not. He should have been better. It wasn't good enough. I have no problem. He's gone.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, really weird. What'd you think about the pick by Jaquan McMillan? I mean, I thought I never really had any doubt in my mind when I saw the play. I was like, yeah, that's a pick. And then I realized afterwards that there was a great controversy. How did you see that play yourself?
Well, live, I'll be completely honest with you, Chad. Live, I've got two arms in the air like, let's go, we got there, because I had a Brandon Cooks receiving yardage over prop. Okay, so I needed that catch. I needed that one. So I like when he jumped up to get it, I'm thinking what most people are thinking, right? He caught it, he's coming down, he's probably down, and the tie goes to the offensive guy, right? That's what I was thinking. And then I saw that he didn't have the ball. And I'm like, uh-oh, that's not great, So I'm still thinking, like, maybe there's a chance, maybe he was down and it got ripped away too late, and it is a catch. I'll be honest with you, Chad. I was rooting hard for that to be the case.
Well,
man.
I respect that, man. When you got money on the line, you don't care if they get the call right or wrong. Just make sure give me my over, dang
That's
it.
right. Come on, let's cash this thing. But when you watch the replay and you look at the pool report, right? They asked the lead referee point blank, and I'm paraphrasing, but he's basically like, the receiver has to complete the process of the catch. He never did that, so it was never a catch to begin with. The ball doesn't touch the ground, it's a pick. Like, that's just exactly what happened.
Yeah, that's the way I saw it. Now, I thought the first pass interference penalty on Cortland Sutton was, I wouldn't have thrown that flag. I know that the guy had his arm, but I wouldn't have thrown the flag. Yeah. And there was a roughing the passer on the play anyway, so the Broncos only netted 2 yards with that penalty. But the second one, I mean, that's going to get thrown 100% of the time, right, where you're a defender, where you're tackling the guy before the ball arrives and you don't have your head turned. I don't see how they don't throw the flag there.
Right. I mean, I'm with you on all that. Like when the first PI, when we slow it down frame by frame,
Yes.
It looks like, oh, my gosh, that's textbook pass interference. If you're watching that live, I've seen way worse go uncalled.
I agree.
So I didn't love that call. But to your point, like Joey Bosa, he smoked Bo Nix so late.
He decleated him.
Yeah, I don't know what. We would be crushing Joey Bosa if not for that pass interference flag. It's a difference of 2 yards. It didn't even matter in the grand scheme of things. And the second one, live, I thought maybe there's a chance he was going to get away with that, but then you watch the replay and you're like, he wasn't looking for the ball. He was certainly there early. That's absolutely pass interference. And look, as a football fan, I hate to see a game end that way. It seems kind of cheap, but you got to make that call. It is pass interference. So I hate these refs that just, I'm going to let the athletes decide the game. It's like, bro, if it's a penalty, what are you doing there? You got to do your job and throw the flag.
Yeah, you have to, because people say that. Well, let the players decide. Well, they did by an egregious penalty at the end of the game. It's unfortunate because I would prefer that Bo Nix make a good throw and they win the game on a touchdown and we don't have the controversy. That's what I want to see there. Now, I do want to ask you this. Now, you've had your doubts about Bo Nix. I think you referred to him as Hobo Nix, which is pretty funny.
Right.
Now, what he has done this year as he's taken out a lot of the teams that people thought he couldn't, and he did outduel Josh Allen in that game, and more importantly, led a touchdown drive at the end of the first half and the second half to put the Broncos in a position to win. Where are you at on Bo Nix after his performance in that game against Josh Allen?
Hey, man, it's tough because it's a little bit nuanced, right? Where I think a lot of times we're just black and white with our assessments, where it's either like, this guy is awesome or this guy sucks. And that's just not where it really lands with a lot of guys. With Bo Nix, I think on the positive side, okay, the throw before halftime was a big deal. The throw to Marvin Mims to take the lead late. We're like under a minute to go, right around there. That was a huge throw. And how crazy is it, by the way, that Tre'Davious White gets hurt, the Bills corner, they bring in the next guy, and it's just like, fresh meat, we're targeting that guy.
Yes.
Like, smart by Bo Nix, absolutely smart
yes.
by the Denver offense, Sean Payton, those guys. They don't miss anything. So they were well aware of that. And it was a great throw, right on the money, and that was a clutch play by Bo Nix. So he does do some things well. Like, he can get outside the pocket, he can buy time, he can use his legs. It's a lot of short, quick, easy throws. And that's the weird thing where I don't want to take away all the credit from him, but I also can't just give him all the credit when a lot of this is just easy stuff, So it's weird where the truth, it's hard to grasp it exactly. But I will say in that particular game, when you're not committing huge mistakes and huge turnovers like Josh Allen was, that's half the battle, man. Like, you just can't put your team in a position like that. And Bo Nix didn't. He avoided those big mistakes, and you got to give him credit for doing that. So he absolutely outplayed Josh Allen. But to give him, like, top 5, top 10 quarterback props, it's probably got to be a different offense where he's asked to do a lot more advanced stuff. He's just not asked to do a lot of advanced stuff, and that's really what holds me back. Like, when you have a passer rating that is dead even with Bryce Young to the decimal point, it's like, oof, I have a hard time just throwing bouquets of flowers at the guy. But he's done a very good job, with what they've asked him to do, and certainly in that game. I think one last thing, Chad, what would have happened if we didn't get that second PI call? Think about that. Bo Nix has got a broken ankle. We didn't know that at the time. What happens if they're at, I don't know, maybe say like the Bills' 38-ish yard line, wherever they were? What happens if it's 2nd and 10 and Bo Nix is still in? I would love to have found out what happened there, but we'll never know.
Well, think about this. If that PI is not called, it would have been 3rd down.
It would have been 3rd. Okay. Well, because
I can tell you what would have happened. My butthole would have puckered up.
Yeah,
my butthole would have puckered up. It was the
weird scramble, right? It was the weird scramble. It lost a couple of yards, so it would have been like 3rd and 12 from the outskirts of long field goal range. That would have been pretty interesting. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm thank God. And thank goodness I didn't know at the time that Bo Nix. And by the way, I went from I've never had this experience as a sports fan. I was on cloud 9, brother.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I got the news that Bo Nix had broke his ankle like 45 minutes after the game. I was like, wait, what?
Brutal.
It was like someone had just walked up and punched me in the face. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. But, everything you just said about Bo, isn't it possible that of the 4 teams remaining in the postseason, that the Broncos with Sean Payton and the fact that their backup is someone they've invested in, like, they might be better positioned of all the 4 teams to deal with the loss of a quarterback going into the title game?
Well, that's the thing, is it goes back to what Stidham is going to be asked to do. And that's why this game is so interesting, Chad. I can't wait for it, where he's going to be asked to do a lot of what Bo Nix has done. And that's a lot of quick, short throws. All right, it's a pretty simple concept. If the guy is there, like, you can't go broke taking a profit. That's like the Denver Broncos philosophy with this offense, is you can't go broke taking a profit. If the guy's open, hit him. Don't even think about going somewhere else with the football. And so that's what I want to see with the Patriots. Do they say, okay, we're going to bank on Stidham, if he's going to do this, 8 times on a drive, we're going to bank on him screwing something up, and they play a little bit loose? Or do they get aggressive? Do they say, we know you want to throw a bunch of quick, short stuff, so guess what? We're going to play press coverage. Then what are you going to do, huh? Like, if Stid beats us deep, so be it. I want to see if they gamble a little bit, or if they, they make them, just – you got to complete a bunch of passes on this drive to score points. It's going to be really interesting to see how the Patriots go about it defensively, how they cover those wide receivers.
Yeah, the other thing I'm excited about with the Broncos, takeaways over the last couple of weeks, like Drake May hasn't exactly been super sharp in these first 2 games with 6 fumbles and 2 picks.
Oh, man, I know it, right? He's been far from clean. And that's the other interesting part is, what's this Denver pass rush look like? We saw it a few times with the Texans. They got after Drake May. And it's like, well, we got Benito. We got a couple of dudes that put heat on the passer. So Drake May has got to do a much better job of protecting the football, because that's one thing. Like, listen, you want Stidham to be in a position where he's got to beat you, right? You slow down the running game. Sean Payton is – so he's not like, he has no patience at all. He's got the patience of a 6-year-old where he's like, I just want to throw the ball, man. He's like playing John Madden football over there.
You're right, 100%. That's exactly who he is.
He's not patient at all. So you're the Patriots. You want to make Stidham beat you, and you cannot help him by giving him short fields, heaven forbid, giving up defensive scores, things like that. You just can't do it if you're the Patriots. Got to protect the football better.
All right, Brian O, Fox Sports Radio. We have about 3.5 minutes before I got to let you go. So I'm going to ask you right now. We'll take the NFC Championship game first. Right now, as we speak, Seahawks are a 2.5-point favorite at home against the Rams. The craziest stat of all, the two games they played separated by 1 yard and 1 point. It's insane. Wow. How do you think this game's going to play out?
I like the Rams. And that's the weird thing is I don't love the spot because Seattle has a lot of things in their favor where it's like, look, they didn't have to play on Wild Card Weekend because they're the 1 seed. So this is the 3rd straight road game for the Rams. And they're on a shorter week, like for the Rams. So the Seahawks have the rest factor in their advantage, in their favor. This week they have their rest factor in their favor throughout the playoffs, not having to play on Wild Card Weekend. But the thing I keep coming back to, Chad, is the Seahawks got fat on the Niners. That's really what it comes down to. The Niners, they played them back-to-back games. Played them Week 18, played them last week in the divisional round. And you look at this Niners team as is with all the injuries compared to the Rams, it's very different. Like the Niners have no running game, and they have no defense. They don't have a pass rush. They don't have a good defense at all. The Rams, they're decent against the run. They're better against the Niners against the run. When the Niners lost Fred Warner, they were bad against the run from that point on. That's not what the Rams are. And is Sam Darnold – I don't like the Rams secondary, but is Sam Darnold the guy with his weird oblique? He's going to just dice up the Rams secondary? No way. No way. Yeah. So I like how the Rams match up with them. They've moved the ball on the Seahawks consistently. Darnold with 6 interceptions in 2 games. That's ridiculous against them. And then go back to the playoff game last year when he was with the Vikings. They played the Rams, and Darnold was freaking terrible. Like, Chris Shula gives Darnold all kinds of problems. I like the Rams a lot in this game, and it feels weird to say that, but I just think they're the better team. The spot and the rest factor is not in their favor, so it's going to be really interesting to see how all that plays out.
All right, AFC Championship, New England, a 4.5-point favorite on the road at Denver. How do you think it shakes out?
I'm with the Pats, man. I said Pats-Rams weeks before the playoffs. I thought that was going to be the Super Bowl matchup, and I don't see a reason to get off of that.
So you're with the Pats minus 4.5?
I would lay it if I had to. I just think it's way too much optimism with the Broncos. I don't love to lay it, Chad, because, listen, man, your Broncos are more than live. Their defense is going to be a total pain in the butt. They're going to scratch and claw for everything. But I just think there's way too much optimism for Stidham, and I just can't imagine, without throwing a pass over the last 2 years, that he's just going to come in and dice up the Patriots. They've got a good quarterback, good coach, good defense. That's too much good to deal with. I've got the Pats in the game, and if forced, I would lay the points.
All right, that sounds a lot like, man, there's no way Nick Foles can beat Tom Brady in a Super Bowl, Chad. It's not happening.
No, I wouldn't say that. But even if you look at my guy Nick Foles, who was fooling people into thinking he was a franchise quarterback there, Chad. He was an imposter, but he had a season with 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He had so much more seasoning than Stidham. Stidham's got one win. Like, that's crazy.
No, I agree. That's my biggest concern. It's not that Jarrett Stidham's playing. It's that Jarrett Stidham hasn't got any runway before he jumps into a title game. And so the speed of the game in the playoffs, as you know, is a lot different. And I'm just wondering, how many mistakes will he make that might be costly until he, gets used to the speed of that game, which is going to be at a different level. That's concerning, no question about it. But I'm not worried about Stidham as much as I have optimism because I know the Broncos defense is going to cause problems for Drake May. And so that's – and I also love the matchup because really I don't even know if Sean Payton knows. None of us know how Stidham's going to play. Like, I'm fascinated to find out. I'm just it's weird to go into a situation where you've got a guy who hasn't played in 2 years starting a game. I know they have confidence in him, but none of us know what to expect. It's wild.
Right, it is.
It's too much.
I can't wait for it. It's going to be a great matchup. And I'll tell you this, because you never know what the situation of a game is going to be. But I look for as many outs as possible. It's like you're playing cards. Like, how many outs do I have? How can I win this hand? And one thing that I keep coming back to is if it's the fourth quarter and the Patriots are trailing, like Drake May, decent offense. Now Denver can pin their ears back, and, hey, they might come out ahead. But I like Drake May and the Patriots' chances trailing more than what do you think about Stidham trailing? Fourth quarter, we're down by 7. This is a gots-to-have-it drive, and they know we're throwing it. That is not the team I want to be backing in that situation.
No, that's a tough spot. By the way, one little stat before you go. Every reception this season and every reception but one in the postseason for Patriots wide receiver Kayshon Boutte has either been a first down or a touchdown.
How about that? And we're
Wrap
fading
your
him
mind
this
around
week,
that
Chad. We're fading him. It's going to be a Hunter Henry game. You know, they're going to be all over him. Fade Booty. He's not going to get there. If you're looking for a prop, go with the under on Booty. That's what I say.
Well, my brother, first of all, thank you for your time. You know I love you, and enjoy the weekend, man. I know the Championship Sunday is very close to your heart. It's going to be awesome, dude. Enjoy the ball, brother.
Oh, absolutely, Chad Doing. Love you too, buddy. Let's keep those Blazers winning. Let's cash some tickets. And, hopefully you enjoy Championship Sunday as well, man. Hope it's a great one.
All right, you got it, brother. There you go, Brian O, Fox Sports Radio. We'll come back and put a bow on this, and then Chris Burkhardt standing by with Blazer Game Day coming up at 5 o'clock. All right, Chris Burkhardt is at Moda Center getting ready for the Raptors and Trailblazers tonight. And Burkhardt, great to have you on the show, buddy. I saw where Denny Avdia listed as doubtful. It sure sounded like he was going to play tonight, but he did say he was going to leave it up to the training staff. So whether he plays or not, I have no issues with them being cautious with Denny Avdia based on his importance to the team.
Well, they've been extra cautious with Scoot Henderson and everyone else, so it would be kind of dumb to all of a sudden not be cautious with the guy who's been your best player all year long.
The franchise, baby. I'm excited about the game tonight. 11-3 in their last 14 games, and now above 500 for the first time since they were 6-5. It's amazing based on everything they've gone through.
If you go through everything they've gone through, if anyone would have said 45 games in, looking at game 46, they're above 500, people probably would have called you a liar if you thought that. I mean, I thought they were going to be a 500 team at 41-41 to end the year, and people thought I was crazy for saying that. But with all the injuries, the coaching turmoil, all that stuff, to the absolute gauntlet of a schedule to start the year, one of the toughest in the NBA, to be where they are right now, things are definitely looking up.
Who do you think wins the games on Sunday?
Oh, gosh. You look at the way Seattle's playing, and I know they just took down my Niners, but I like their balance. I like their balance a lot. Defensively, they can get locked in. And offensively, all you need is Sam Darnold to play a flawless game, and they're going to be in position. Then again, it's not as if, the Rams are a slouch. They're here for a reason, too. So I think that's going to be an absolute gauntlet of a game. And I think when you look at that one, I just look at the quarterback. And I think I trust Matthew Stafford a little bit more than Darnold. And then on the other end, I hate to say it, not having Bo Nix is going to be hard to overcome. So I think it's L.A. and I think it's New England.
All right, brother. I appreciate it, man. Enjoy the game tonight, and I'll talk to you soon.
You got it.
All right, you guys have a great night. Enjoy the Blazer game. Raptors and Blazers coming up. Tip-off at 7 o'clock. And then we'll have an early game on Monday with the Celtics and Trailblazers. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy Championship Sunday. Go Broncos, and I'll talk to you later.
Good afternoon, Trailblazers fans. Welcome in to another wonderful edition of Blazers Game Day. Chris Burkhart here with you, getting you ready for Blazers versus Raptors as your Portland Trailblazers look to extend their win streak to 5 in a row after an impressive win over the Miami Heat last night, and continue to Donovan Clingan, to the play-in. Things are looking pretty good for the way this team is playing right now. We'll hear an update here in just a little bit when we head to the coach's corner on if Denny Avdia is playing or not. Last we checked, he was listed as doubtful. Did kind of tweak his back in that game last night. Was taken out early in the third quarter. Did not return to the game. Coach Tiago Splitter said it was just a precautionary thing. Denny Avdia reiterated that, said that coach is out there, sometimes protecting him from himself, making the best choice for the team, and there's still a lot of season left. So just taking the precaution, make sure that he's healed up, and probably the best thing to do if he can't go tonight because you got a road trip here and you got to go to Boston, take on the Celtics, and you want a healthy Denny for that if you can. So we'll see if we can get an update there as soon as possible. But the Blazers come into tonight's game sitting at number 9 in the standings. They are 23-22, over 500 for the first time since November 12th when they were 6-5. This is the first time that they are above 500 in the month of January since 2021. So things are looking pretty good for your Trailblazers, who are 9-2 in the month of January. They are 8-2 in their last 10 games. Only 2 other teams in the NBA have an 8-2 record or better over their last 10. That is the Clippers and the Detroit Pistons, who are both 8-2 in that same span as well. So the Blazers, again, looking to continue their hot play, and it's going to be a tough one tonight against a Toronto Raptor team that comes in at 27-19, 4th best team in the Eastern Conference. So not going to be an easy one for the Blazers tonight. Hopefully they can patch it all together, though, figure it out. It does look like Drew Holiday and Jeremy Grant will play. They were listed as questionable, so that will be good for the Blazers tonight to have a little bit of reinforcement if Denny can't go. But still, with the way this team is playing, it's going to be a competitive ball game. And this next stretch, the next 5 games, really, 4 of the next 5 games, my friends, 4 of the next 5 games are against teams that are currently in the playoff race in the Eastern Conference, in the top 6 teams. They got a game coming up tonight, obviously, against Toronto. That is the fourth team in the Eastern Conference. Then they end up going on the road a little bit. They're going to take on the Boston Celtics, who are currently number 2 in the East. They will take on the Washington Wizards. So they get a little bit of a reprieve because the Washington Wizards are second to last, are tied for it, basically last place in the Eastern Conference, one of the worst teams in the NBA this season. And then they have on the road in New York and back home against Cleveland, which are number 3 and number 6 in the standings in the East. So a little stretch of tough games here that you would hope that the Blazers can pull it out, get it together, and just play good basketball, much like they did last night against the Miami Heat, a game that honestly at halftime felt like it was going to go down to the wire. It was a close game, and it felt like Miami was going to make this Trailblazers team work. And they did. They just blew past them in the second half. End of the first half, Nikola Jovic makes a layup. It's 64-63 in favor of the Blazers, and you're trying to see what needs to happen the rest of the way to continue this offensive flow, get any semblance of anything, right? And the thing is, Denny Avdia played well, but he only played 18 minutes because he hurts himself in the third quarter. But then Shaedon Sharpe has one of the worst halves of his entire season, if not his career. In that first half alone for Shaedon Sharpe, he was 1 of 8 from the floor. He had just 3 points and 4 turnovers. He had more turnovers than he had points. You need him to flip the script. You need him to improve. You know that you need a good game from Shaedon if you're going to hope to pull away from this tough Miami Heat team, especially with Denny Avdia out for that second half. And the good Shaedon Sharpe is what you got, because in the second half, he was 10 of 13, 4 of 5 from deep, 24 points and just 2 turnovers. Also had 2 steals, 3 assists, and 3 rebounds. So he went from having one of the worst halves of the season to having his best half of the season. The Blazers outscored the Heat 39-29 in the third, outscored them 24-18 in the fourth to pick up a 127-110 victory. Now looking at the box score, seeing how things broke down individually, of course, because that's how we like to see these things out. We'll start on the Miami side of things. Andrew Wiggins had 14 points, 6 boards, 3 assists. Bam Adebayo, a massive game, 32 points, 10 rebounds, 3 steals and a block shot to lead all scorers as well. 18 points from Trailblazers legend Norman Powell, who did something he does not do very often. He went 0 of 7 from beyond the arc, and the Heat were led on the bench by Simon Fontecchio, who had 17 points. On the Trailblazers side, again, lots of balance. 6 different players in double figures, led by 27 points from Shaedon Sharpe. Like we said, a massive second half from the Blazers shooting guard. Denny Avdia, unfortunately, he got hurt because he was well on his way to a massive game, because in 17 minutes of action, he had 20 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists. So he was going to put up a box score for sure. Toumani Camara, 16 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 6 of 9 from the field. That's on the back of the game in Sacramento right before that, where he was 7 of 7. So a nice little shooting stretch for Toumani Camara. Donovan Clingan did struggle a little bit, 7 points, 8 boards. They needed the rebounds. That was good. Had a hard time kind of staying in front of Bam Adebayo, because Bam is very, very athletic and quick for a center in this league. I wouldn't say exposed Donovan, but definitely made Donovan work and caught Donovan flat-footed a few times. So Donovan didn't get too involved in the offense. Defensively, did what he needed to do, picked those boards up, which is great. 15 points and 7 assists from Drew Holiday. On the bench, the Blazers were led by Caleb Love with 20 points, 12 points as well from Jeremy Grant. So that's how that game rounded out. Good balance. Everything kind of went the Blazers' way. But when you start looking at things, my friends, you're like, okay, the Miami Heat had more points in the paint. They had more second chance points. They had more fast break points. They had fewer turnovers, and they had more points off turnovers. They also took 94 shots. They shot 45%. What was the difference in the game? The difference was the three-pointers, because Miami came into this game, again, a good three-pointing shooting team. They took 45 three-pointers in this game and made just 9 of them. That is 20% from beyond the arc. On the other side, the Blazers, who are a notoriously poor three-point shooting team, were not so much on this night. 50 three-pointers. They made 20 of them. That's good for 40%. And also, when you make 11 more three-pointers than the other team, I mean, that's a 33-point difference just in three-pointers. So a good performance from the Trailblazers. They needed that. And as Brendan said when we had him on with us, helping us during the fifth quarter, he said the Miami broadcast reiterated multiple times, and once again, the worst three-point shooting team in the NBA hits an open three against the Miami Heat. They were just not liking the fact that the Blazers were having a good night, had to keep hammering home, worst three-point shooting team, worst three-point shooting team. Well, sometimes you're the windshield, sometimes you're the bug, all right? Well, Blazers were the windshield in this one, and you got to give them credit for that. Can they continue that hot shooting tonight against Toronto? We shall see. It's going to be a tough task, as always, to continue the way the offense has been playing, but they've been healthy. They've had their guys back. And yesterday, they found ways to hit shots. What they need to do tonight against Toronto that they can't do like they did last night, at least I don't think they can, because someone is going to eventually stop it, and it's really going to bite them in the rear end, is especially when they were playing Miami, you could see the difference in ball movement offensively. Miami slings that ball around. Every single play is built off of movement, guys moving off screens, lots of dribble handoffs. It's just constantly trying to confuse the defense. Meanwhile, Portland, especially after Denny went out, it was straight just like set a pick and then see if I can beat my guy. There was lots of isolation stuff that just was not working, and still somehow they made shots. Like, it was like, okay, nobody's moving. 2 guys are sitting in the corner. We got 1 guy up top just trying to work around his defender, but they can't make anything work. But they can make shots. Some nights that will work, some nights it won't. So we're going to need just a little bit more ball movement from this team tonight against Toronto, again, who comes in. And I've been praising Toronto on the show with you guys multiple times. They are far better than I think anyone thought they would be this season. They're finding ways to play just really, really good team basketball and still kind of true to their identity, where they can get you on both ends of the floor on any given night. Anyway, this is Blazers Game Day, my friends. I'm your host, Chris Burkhart. You can follow me on social at Chris J. Burkhart. You can also join the conversation with me. Go on over to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, get in on the chat there. Hit us up on the brand new. How long till we just call it the text line? Is it still brand new? I mean, it's only been around for like a month or so. But hit us up on the text line, 88528. You can send us a text and join the conversation there as well. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about this Toronto team a little bit. A little mix-up to the lineup here tonight because we're going to move the Coach's Corner back a segment. We'll get to that eventually here from head coach Thiago Splitter as well. All that and more coming up on your home, the Blazers, Rip City Radio, 620. Welcome back into Blazers Game Day. Chris Burkhardt here with you, getting you ready for Blazers versus Raptors tonight. And Dirt Mock Prince jumps in on the chat already, says, shut down quickly. Is it really that simple? Yeah, but no. I get it's game plan, easier said than done, right? As the Raptors come in, and as we mentioned, still one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. They're putting it together. They play good team ball. Emmanuel Quickley has been very good this year. 5 different players for this team averaging in double figures, led by Brandon Ingram, who has found a home, was cast off from L.A., cast off from New Orleans, and he's been very good here in Toronto. Scotty Barnes is still Scotty Barnes. Both those guys averaging right around 20 points per game. Emmanuel Quickley averaging 17 points, 6.3 assists. R.J. Barrett has had a very good run here. He's played 23 games this season, and last we checked, he's questionable. Trying to see what the update is on him. And they don't have Jakob Poeltl, who has played 21 games this year, averaging 9 points, but you know that he can still get to work on the glass, still rebound well. So they have a couple guys out, but still, they got Ingram, they got Scotty Barnes, and as our commenter said, Dirt Mock Fritz said, Emmanuel Quickley, who's very good. So I would say the good part here is, hey, you put Drew on Quickley, and you got a good matchup there to stop him, and then you really make Tumani and company work against Brandon Ingram and Scotty Barnes, and we'll see how this thing all shakes out. But if you don't have a guy who's big and beefy down low like Jakob Poeltl, then maybe it's one of those Donovan Clingan type games where he can absolutely go off if you need him to. So we shall see. We shall see. Now we will head to the coach's corner here in just a little bit. We're waiting to get some audio from him. Had to move some things around to get to the show tonight. As Chad took my equipment, and I had to be like, oh, I got to use your other equipment, Shacker. He's like, well, that's equipment we use to get Coach Sound live. I'm like, well, guess we're not getting Coach Sound live. That's how you do the show sometimes. But we do have an update coming from the press room, courtesy of our Trailblazers reporter, Sean Hyken. Follow him on social media at Hyken. Denny, Time Lord, and Dwop are all out tonight. So no Denny Avdia, no Robert Williams. Robert Williams was 100% to be expected. Dwop is a scratch that I don't think anyone saw coming. And, yeah, Denny definitely out as well. Did not play most of that second half last night with the back, who we already missed a few games with. You definitely don't want to push it. You don't want to put him in a position to re-injure that thing, especially as we mentioned with the pretty good stretch of games coming up, this game included. I mean, over your next 5 games, 4 of them are against top 6 teams in the Eastern Conference. And the team that's 6 is not bad. Like the teams that's 6 is the Cleveland Cavaliers. So let's be honest here. This is a tough stretch of games. So you want to have your guys as healthy as possible, as often as possible through that stretch. So no Denny Avdia tonight for your Portland Trailblazers as they take on the Toronto Raptors, who are 27-19, 4th in the Eastern Conference. And again, very good team. It's a team that I think is playing better than a lot of people thought they would this season, and that's good on them. Good coaching, good balance of that roster, and to be where they are is great. Their last win was over the Sacramento Kings, 122-109. They got a win over the Golden State Warriors the night before that, 145-127. And then, again, why do you focus on Emmanuel Quickley? Well, in that game against Golden State, he dropped 40 points. In that game against Sacramento, he was their leading assist man with 8. So he's going to find ways to beat you and impact the box score in various ways. He's a very, very good player, and not just because it's his last name, but very, very quick as well. So hard to guard. You really got to work to stay in front of him, which is interesting because I was really watching Drew Holiday on defense yesterday, and one thing I noticed about him when I compared him to like Shaedon Sharpe, and Shaedon Sharpe can get blown by his guys sometimes. Drew Holiday doesn't get blown by that often. And one of the things I started to notice is like if a defender attacks Shaedon Sharpe, he takes like an outfielder drop step, where as an outfielder you open up those hips and you get that foot back and you start going towards the baseball. You open up all the way. Drew doesn't do that. Drew is all his movement is like a defensive back. It's all super, super quick in the hips while the upper body stays fluid to where he's trying to guard. So if his hips move and start taking him in the opposite direction, his body is still in front of his defender. It reminds me of a top-tier defensive back in the NFL where all the work that they do is hips. And maybe you find ways to get that into Shaden Sharp's training regimen a little bit. But again, I think it's one of those little things that sets a good defender apart from a great defender. And I always remember an interview long ago from Brandon Roy who said when he's on defense, he doesn't look at eyes. He looks at the player's hips because the eyes will lie, but the hips won't. The hips will tell you where they're going to go. And so you can watch the hips of the offensive player, have a good idea where you're going, and then use your own hip rotations to really stay in front of them on the defensive side. Just a little thing that I noticed as I was watching Drew Holiday, who's very, very fun to watch on the defensive end. One of our texters says, is it wrong of me to think every time Sharp goes for a dunk to want to know how high and what's the score? That'd be a good element. I need instantaneous feedback every single time he jumps. The broadcast needs to tell you that was a 42-inch vert and what the dunk score was. I get that. I do have my little pushback here, though, with the vert number, is they were breaking down the dunks of his over the season on the pregame show the other day, talking about how he leads the league in 40-inch verts on his dunks, and that they used the one in Sacramento where he was like horizontal, and like they measured to his feet when he was horizontal. And they're like, it was 47 inches. And I'm just like, that's really not how a vert works. Like, I mean, if that were the case, every single time I jumped, I would do like a half flip and like land on my hands and then roll and be like, yeah, like I may have only got like 2 inches off the ground, but my heels were like 70 inches off the ground, like whatever. Like that's not how verts work. It's from the point of the jump to where you stop, not where your body decides to go parallel to the floor and add a couple inches to that vertical. Just thought that was a little bit funny myself, but I would love it. Give me the dunk scores. Tell me how high he jumped, and then just continue to just dunk on people's domes, man, because he's been absolutely incredible. And one of the things that's been a nice revelation over the last few games is, boy, that connection between Caleb Love and Shaden Sharp on those alley-oops is something, ain't it? They've had a couple really, really good 1-2 combos over the last handful of games, and that's one that you're like, okay, I can see more of this. Damian Lillard's over there on the bench going, okay, well, I guess I have to work on my lob passing a little bit. Really haven't had to use that during my previous time here in Portland. But you know how Hassan was like, we got shooters. Well, now you got dunkers. You got levitators. You got bouncers. Yeah, going to have to learn to throw those lob passes. So those have been some nice things to see as well. And speaking of Shaden Sharp, what I loved his game last night, even despite the fact that first half was arguably the worst of the season, if not one of the worst of his entire career. The reason I still loved that game was it was clear that either he had to talk with himself or a coach talked to him or whatever it was, but he adjusted at halftime. And what he did in the second half, completely different than what he did in the first half. I loved the ability to shake off a bad half and not let that linger and then get into a position where you can make plays. That's a hat tip to Shaden Sharp. A good performance from him in that second half led to a great game. Now, just give it to me for 2 halves in a row. That's what I want. Kirk in the chat says, Blazers are making the playoffs. At this pace, that just very well might be the case. One thing we need to watch very, very closely is what's going on down in Golden State. You obviously heard the news of them losing Jimmy Butler now for the season with the torn ACL, and so that forces them to move their lineups a little bit. Now we know that there's a little bit of a falling out, that Coach Kerr isn't the biggest fan of Jonathan Kuminga, and he's been rumored in different kinds of trades. He's demanded a trade. Then you get the GM saying, well, you can demand a trade, but there needs to be demand to get traded. Kind of a little sideways, backhand, like, yeah, you haven't done enough to really demand a trade. But he does get forced into a little more playing time with Jimmy Butler out. And in the game against Dallas on Thursday, when Golden State lost 123-115, Kuminga played just 9 minutes before injuring his knee and his ankle and leaving the game. So now you're down Kuminga. You're down Jimmy Butler, who was your second best player. Draymond Green is in and out of the lineup. You still got Steph Curry, who is phenomenal. But Draymond Green played in that game last night. He scored 4 points. He's not going to get you through a lot of games on the offensive side of the ball. You need more than just Steph, who dropped 38, which is great. But you need some help. And so with those injuries and just their overall roster not being great, that's something to watch, because as you look at the standings, they are just slightly ahead of your Portland Trailblazers, sitting in the 8th seed, a game and a half ahead of Portland. Just a game and a half. That's a pretty good spot to be if you're Portland, considering the schedule's getting easier. That Golden State team might take a few more losses because of just the impact of those injuries. I mean, Jimmy Butler's great. He is a great player. He impacts wins and losses big time. Now you have the Clippers, who are still trying to gain ground. Blazers have a 2.5 game lead over them at the moment, so Portland just needs to keep winning. Win as much as you can. And this, like I said, this stretch is going to be a little bit rough, but then you come back home. Eventually you get the back-to-back against Memphis, which Memphis currently 18-24. They're struggling just a little bit this year, so you'd hope you can get those. And as I've told you guys a few times, you still got 2 games against Washington, 2 games against Indiana, 2 games against Brooklyn, and 2 games against Charlotte remaining on the schedule. Those are the 4 worst teams in the Eastern Conference. So the Blazers have wins they can take advantage of, but things just got really, really interesting with what happened down there in Golden State. Is Steph Curry enough to keep that 5-game cushion that they have between Memphis right now? Maybe. He's Steph Curry. He's absolutely incredible. But they're going to lose some games here, because he can't go out there and win it for you every single night playing 48 minutes. Blazers need to take advantage of what's being laid out in front of them, and hopefully get Denny back soon, and then continue to rattle off some wins like they've been doing, looking to win their 5th straight tonight. It would be their 10th in their last 12 games. They would improve to 12-2 on the season, already the best team in the NBA in the month of January. 8-2 in their last 10 games, and like I said, only 2 other teams are 8-2 or better in their last 10 games: the Los Angeles Clippers and the Detroit Pistons. All right, this is Blazers Game Day. I am your host, Chris Burkhardt. If you want to join the conversation, 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. You can also hit us up on the text line. 88528 is the telephone number. Kirk says, I think the Blazers could get the 7th seed and play the Spurs. That would be fun. And, Kirk, I think getting into the playoffs is huge. Now, obviously, the 7, 8, 9, and the 10 seed are your play-in teams, and Portland, if you get into the 7, would have a good spot of figuring some stuff out. But, man, I talked about this the other day. I think a playoff series at this point, because there's the camp that wants a draft pick and there's a camp that wants to get to the playoffs. I think at this point, getting to the playoffs and getting a playoff series would be absolutely incredible for this team. Even if you lose, even if you get matched up against the Spurs and they bounce you in 4 games, man, you got experience. You did your traveling, you did the media circus, because it's always a little more intense come playoff time. You played in front of the intense stadiums, because arenas are always a little more intense during playoff time, and you got that experience, which is huge for a young team moving forward. So you want to get to the 7th seed, you want to get a matchup with the Spurs when it's all said and done, I am all here for it, my friend. That's right. Dirt Monk gets it. Build the Death Star. Don't just keep accumulating Legos and then worrying about how many you need. Just start building. Just start building. If you get all the way to the end and you're missing one little gray piece, then you call Lego up and you order it and you complete the Death Star. Dang it. Don't keep looking at the box. Don't worry about the collectibles and what they could be worth down the road and what you could get on your return on investment, a.k.a. trades and asset acquisition. I could trade this Death Star piece and I could get a piece for the Millennium Falcon. No, we're building the Death Star, guys. Dirt Monk gets it. Start building. Face forward. You can only sit there and go, I want draft picks so many years in a row. You gotta put the best foot forward, which they're doing right now. That's why they're above 500 in January for the first time since 2009. We're going to take a quick break here on Blazers Game Day. When we come back, we'll see if we have audio from Coach, and we'll continue to get you ready for Blazers versus Raptors here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Welcome back into Blazers Game Day. Chris Burkhart here with you. We are just awaiting on some coaches' audio. Michael Shacker is working feverishly behind the scenes if he can get. If not, we did get the information we definitely were looking for already, and that was the fact that Denny Avdia is out tonight. So is Time Lord Robert Williams and Duapreeth. Also, I totally just had a very funny slip of the tongue, and I don't know why I almost said Time Lord Robin Williams. Maybe it's because I was watching videos on Mrs. Doubtfire the other day. That could be it. What a goat. That guy was so good. So funny. What a legend Robin Williams was. All right, back to the conversation. Basketball, though, if you want to join the conversation, 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. And, of course, you can hit us up on the text line as well. 88528 is that text number. And I want to point out one of our comments real quick because it's funny. Kirk commented, I don't think the Spurs matchup, I don't think the Spurs would be that much of a favorite over us if they were to be in that hypothetical matchup. And the first thing I did was pause at that and kind of laugh, Kirk. I was like, yeah, come on, Wemby and company. And then his very next comment was, Denny being a superstar has changed everything. And it's like, you're not wrong. I think it's changed a lot about this team. I think it's changed, their trajectory, what we think their max can be moving forward. And I've said it multiple times, Kirk, and it can never be stated enough, really. It's just like I do not believe that when they traded him, they thought they were going to get a guy who was going to be in the all-star conversation this quickly, if ever. I think they were getting a guy who they knew had upside, had shown versatility in Washington to go do all these little things, but it was still, and I talked about it early in the season, they want Shea to be the guy, which I still think they want him to take that leap to be an actual, superstar. And, they have Scoot and they have all these young guys. Denny's going to be a piece, and now it feels like, no, he's not. He feels more like the foundation, and things have changed very, very quickly with the way he's playing, and the fact that he's doing it at a consistent level is even more impressive. And I think it's funny, too. I don't know if you guys saw this, and I wish I had the ability to play it here. But if not, just go on social media and just type in Wizards Denny, and the video will pop up of their GM saying he was asked if it was a mistake to trade Denny, and he said, quote, "No, it was not a mistake. We're all very happy for Denny. We saw Denny as a very high-level